chose who lived and who died. I made that decision in 11 seconds. I've been making it ever since. Not in the hospital, in here, every day, for 40 years. I'm not talking about guilt. I know what I did was right. Medically, objectively, by every standard that exists, right. That's the part I can't explain to anyone. My name is Vernon Dupré. I'm 79 years old. I grew up in the Treme neighborhood in New Orleans, 2714 St. Bernard Avenue. Small house, big family, always noise, always smell of something cooking. My mother wanted me to be a preacher. I became a doctor instead. She never quite forgave me for that. I graduated Meharry Medical College in 1970, came back to New Orleans, started on the ambulance. People ask why emergency medicine, why not surgery, why not private practice? I tell them I wanted to be where decisions were made fast, before there was time to be afraid. That was a young man's answer. I'm not sure I'd give the same one now. Back then I thought speed was a virtue. Get in, assess, decide, move. Don't let it catch up with you. It catches up with you. The first year I kept count, every call, every outcome. I stopped in year 2. You learn that counting doesn't help. The numbers don't tell you anything you don't already know. What they tell you is, keep moving. Next call, next decision. I kept moving for 33 years. New Orleans in the 1970s. Hot, always hot. The ambulance smelled like rubber gloves and old blood and something chemical I never identified. We ran 14, 15 calls a shift sometimes. You learn to think in the back of a moving vehicle. You learn to not think about certain things at all. You think decisions are hard because you don't have enough information. They're not. They're hard because sometimes all the information in the world doesn't tell you what's right. You know that feeling. I remember one call, 1982, old woman on Magazine Street. She'd fallen in her kitchen, hip fracture. She was scared, kept saying, "I'm sorry for the trouble." I told her, "Ma'am, this is exactly why I'm here." She held my hand the whole way to the hospital. That's the job I signed up for, not the other one. I had a friend, James Corner. We went to school together, all the way back to John McDonough on Esplanade. James was funny, the kind of funny that made you laugh when you didn't want to. He became an electrician, good one, had his own crew by the time he was 30. We had a ritual, first Sunday of every month, Dookie Chases on Orleans Avenue, same table in the back, same order, red beans, cornbread, coffee. James would talk about his crew. I'd talk about the hospital. We'd argue about the Saints for 12 years, first Sunday of every month. November 14th, 1987, a Saturday night, which in New Orleans means something specific, loud, crowded, stupid. We got 2 calls almost simultaneously. A car accident on Claiborne, a man down on Rampart. Charity Hospital had 1 trauma bay open. 1. James was not a complicated man. That's what I miss about him. He didn't overthink things. He'd show up, do the work, go home, love his family, feed his neighbors, laugh at his own jokes. I used to think that was simple. Now I think it was the hardest thing, and the rarest. The accident victim, a woman, 34 years old, multiple trauma, internal bleeding, ejected from the vehicle. The man on Rampart, male, probably 50s, cardiac, no pulse when we got there. We got him back in the field, barely. I had to choose who we took first. In medicine, that choice has a name. We call it triage. The name makes it sound clean, like math, like procedure. It's not. It's a person deciding that one life outweighs another. Even if the math is correct, even if you're right, it's still that. 11 seconds. I know because I've counted it back many times. The time between the radio call and my decision. I took the woman from Claiborne. She was younger. The trauma was survivable if we moved immediately. The man's cardiac event had already caused damage. He died before the second unit reached him. Sometimes the right decision and the good outcome are not the same thing. You know this. You've made the right call and watched it go wrong anyway. That doesn't mean you were wrong. It means you're human. 4 days later, a nurse stopped me in the hallway. "Did you hear about the man from Rampart Street?" I said I knew. I was there. She said, "He had ID in his pocket. James Corner, 46 years old. Electrician." I stood in that hallway for a long time. There was a mop bucket at the end of the corridor. Yellow, half full of gray water. I remember staring at it. James. I made the right decision, and James died. James. I had held his life in my hands, and I hadn't known it was his life. I made the right decision, and James died. Both of those things are true, at the same time, forever. Being right is not the same as being okay with it. I need you to understand that. You can do the right thing and carry it your whole life. Both of those things can be true at the same time. The question I've lived with for 40 years is not, did I make the right call? I know I did. The question is, if I had known it was James, would I have made the same call? And I don't know. I really don't. And that not knowing, that's the part that stays. The woman from Claiborne, her name was Diane Terode. She survived. I looked her up. Years later, it felt like an accounting, like checking the math. She had 3 children. She's a grandmother now. I found her picture online. Holiday photo. Big family. Smiling. I looked at that picture for a long time. Every choice you make costs something. Sometimes it costs you something you didn't even know you were spending. And you only find out later. Usually too late to prepare for it. I worked emergency medicine for 23 more years after that night. Thousands of calls. Hundreds of decisions like that one. None of them the same. None of them James. I never told anyone about James. Not my colleagues, not my wife, not my children. Some things you carry alone, not because you're ashamed, because there's no one who could carry it with you and still be okay. For years after James died, I still went to Dookie Chase's. First Sunday of every month. Same table, same order, alone. I did it for 7 years. Then one Sunday, I just didn't go. I still think about it. Every first Sunday of every month, I still think about it. There are people we don't let go of, not because we're weak, because they meant something that doesn't have a replacement. You've got someone like that. You know exactly who I'm talking about. 10 years ago, I got a letter from James's son, Marcus. He was 42. Somehow he'd found out I was on the crew that night. He wanted to know what his father's last minutes were like, whether he was afraid, whether he suffered. I sat with that letter for 3 weeks. Then I wrote back. I told him his father didn't suffer. True, the arrest was fast. I told him his father was not alone. Also true. I didn't tell him I made the decision. I didn't tell him about the 11 seconds. I've wondered since, was that the right thing to do? I still don't know. How much truth does someone need? Not how much they deserve. How much they need. Those are different questions, and the answer changes depending on who's asking. I retired in 2010. I sit on this porch most mornings. New Orleans still hot, still loud, still smells like itself. I think about James, less than I used to, as either healing or forgetting. I think about Diane Turode, her grandchildren. Both of those things exist because of 11 seconds. I don't regret the decision. I just wish it had been anyone else's to make. That's not the same as regret. I want to be clear about that. Regret means you choose differently. I wouldn't. I just wish it hadn't been James. I'll be wishing that for whatever time I have left. I chose who lived and who died. I made that decision in 11 seconds, and I've been making it ever since. The difference is, now I know what I was deciding. I didn't know then. I'm not sure which is harder to live with.